Hello. Give me 1 minute. I'm changing things up here. Getting people into the room. Hello, my name is Erin, and I work with the Pennsylvania Medical Group Management Association, and I am happy to see all of you today. We have a little group so far. I think a few more people will pop in. This is the next installment of our Leader to Leader program. We've had, looks like everybody here is new. We've had a few people that have been return attendees, repeat attendees in our Leader to Leader forum. So I'm happy to see all new faces. It's a small group, so could I have everyone unmute themselves kind of when I call on you and introduce yourselves and tell me where you are in the state and where you work, what kind of practice you're involved with, and that can be a good jumping off point. And maybe give me 1 or 2 ideas about some issues you're facing right now in your practice. Michelle Williamson.
Hi, how is everyone?
So far, so good today.
Good. I'm actually not with a practice. I'm with a company called Share Care Health Data Services. And I really wanted to hear how you all are doing and what's going on in your practices, and maybe talk about how we might be able to help you with some of our revenue generating services.
Great, thank you. And Kim?
I can do it this time right now. Okay, that'd be super. I really appreciate
Hi,
that.
sorry. I am calling from Doylestown Sports Medicine Center. We're in Bucks County, right outside of Philadelphia. I don't have any specific questions at this point. We're starting to transition our administrative staff back into the office. So I'm just wondering how people are handling that, because we're still doing some remote and some in the office, and we're just trying to figure out how to juggle that.
Yes. And Angie Court?
Hi everyone, sorry, my my camera is not working for some reason, and I think it has something to do with my setup at my computer, because it's like a tablet that connects to, but so I apologize that you can't see me. I work for Genesis Medical Associates. It's a group of independent physicians right in the North Hills of Pittsburgh. So most of us live around the northern area of Pittsburgh. And I'd like to just kind of hear how everybody plans to use telehealth moving forward. We've brought most of our staff back. I still have my billers and my schedulers out. They'll be joining us back in July. But I'd like to hear everyone's ideas on how you plan to move forward with telehealth, and kind of discuss what I'm thinking, and maybe pick brains about readmission rates, that kind of thing.
Sorry, I muted myself. My dog started barking. And that's the work from home.
The struggle is real.
Yeah. And Kathy Williams? Hello. Oh, looks like you're muted. Hold on 1 second. Oh. Sorry, go ahead.
I missed the question. I came in late.
Just introduce yourself. Tell us about your practice and where you are.
Okay, I'm Kathy Williams, and we're in Allentown, Pennsylvania. It's a pediatric practice. Yeah, we have 2 sites. I don't know.
Oh, great, perfect. And do you have any specific questions or anything you'd like to talk about today?
Not that I can think of right this second, but just interested what everybody else is kind of going through.
Where is your practice bringing patients in, bringing staff back? Are you fully up and running?
We are pretty much fully up and running. I have two staff members that have little children that have opted to kind of stay home for right now, take a furlough. They were getting paid with the PPP, but that's ending. So, but otherwise we're in the office leaving earlier. We have both offices open. Our one office is open a little bit later. We're usually open 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. So now we're leaving about, depends on which doctor's here, but sometimes we're leaving 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But we are seeing, we're picking up on patients, and we're seeing a bunch of mainly well patients and doing telemeds and seeing those sick patients that need to come into the office, you know, like wart removals, lacerations, ear checks. But yeah.
Are you closing earlier because you don't have the patient volume yet?
Yes, I'm trying to get them to, I'm trying to get them to schedule later. I don't know if they were kind of, you know, because they were getting paid their full amount, even if they were leaving earlier because of the PPP. So now that that ends, I'm assuming that it's going to happen, that we're going to have more patients a little bit later. But our building actually it was normally open till like 9 at night, the building, but now they've closed it at 6. So even with, I have them now scheduling a little bit later, but till they get finished with those last couple of patients, we have to be out of here in time and make sure that that works. So
That's interesting. I haven't heard that about the facility that you're in closing. I haven't heard that yet.
yeah.
So having listened to all the calls, I can say that everything you're saying, all of you, is exactly what everybody else is saying. All of the questions you have is exactly the same questions everybody else has been talking about across the state. Okay, so well, Kathy, was your facility, were your staff all out of the office? Were you completely shut down for a period of time?
No, we've never been totally shut down, but there was a point where I had a bunch of staff that were furloughed when it first all started and stuff, and of course we didn't have the patient load, and our secondary site was only open in the mornings. Now we've moved that, they're open now morning and afternoon. But yeah, at the time of the PPP thing kicked in, I brought everybody back except for the ones, like the 2 people that said, and actually we kind of gave them an incentive too, to be in the office prior to the PPP loan. Just so we're going to be giving them an incentive payment. And so the 2 that are staying home and furloughed, they don't care about that. They have their 2 children, or actually the one has 4 children, but they have their new babies, and they said, we just want to stay home until this kind of comes to an end, which I don't know if that will happen, but yeah, so I'm assuming they're gonna, I know if I do the PPP by June 30th, at least the full-time person has to be back. So, or both of them actually need to be back. So that's where we're at. That's my understanding. I don't know if I'm misunderstood with that, but.
No, I'm asking you specifically because it sounds like you're the farthest along in bringing your staff back. So I thought that maybe your experiences would help inform Kim and Angie a little bit. So this is meant to be a completely open forum. So if you all have questions for one another, please jump in, unmute yourself, just talk as you like. I'm just meant to just moderate. So please take me out of the equation if you can, or if you will. I would prefer to be out of the equation. So how much are you seeing telehealth affect you all? Do you think that that telehealth will continue to be a large part of your practice, or will it start to fade out as you get people get more comfortable coming back into the office for appointments?
I think it's going to be like a catch-22. I think we're going to see some of the people that love it. Right now, what I'm seeing is the people like 30 to mid-50s that are still working love it because they can still get their follow-ups, their med refills, different things like that don't actually require that they come to the office and without having to leave work. But then we have like our other older populations, 75 plus, that are like, it's their day out and they want to come into the office. So we're still really having a good even keel amount of both. So I can't see it going away. I can't see people being like, yeah, that was an inconvenience, except unless they stop covering, like unless they have to start paying copays, then I think we'll see people say, well, if I have to pay a copay, I'm coming to that office and making sure I get the bang for my buck, because I can see some people thinking that they're getting less through telehealth, even though they're definitely not. They're just not getting that height, weight, blood pressure. But if they're paying for a service, getting that height, weight, blood pressure makes them think that they're getting something for their copay. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's where we're at right now in our area with the telehealth.
We actually do have copays taken out of when we're getting our payments. So we are collecting the copays for telehealth.
For telehealth, you are?
For the video visits?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, see,
Our insurance companies are deducting a copay and putting it to patient responsibility. Unless it's COVID related, like, they have the illness, but we haven't, yeah.
Huh. Yeah, we haven't seen that yet, but I'll be interested to go back through the EOBs and look though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's every insurance company, but there's a bunch of them, yeah.
I believe for us, it's we're physical therapy, so we're specialists, and I believe it's the only one that's not taking the copay out is the United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plans seem to be covering them for telehealth at 100%. But the other ones that they're treating it seems that they're treating it as a regular visit.
Yeah, it was my understanding that if it was COVID related telehealth, then there was no copay, but beyond, if it was standard telehealth, then their copay applied. But I have heard from several practices that they're having a lot of trouble collecting their copays for telehealth, because then they're billing for them, or they've had, if they didn't have a prior system for collecting for telehealth, if they had a system already in place for telehealth, an app or already had a telehealth system set up. A lot of them have a payment plan, a payment system that you log on. And before you can connect into the room, there's a payment button. That has all continued to function. But if they didn't have that in place, they've had a harder time collecting those copays, because people don't want to send in the $10 or the $15 or whatever the copay might be. Have you seen that people are wanting to pay that?
Yeah, we've had that struggle too. I'm sorry, Kathy. Yeah, we've had that struggle too, where it's harder to get them unless they're paying with a card. If they're paying with cash and check, it takes them forever to mail in their payment.
Yeah.
We're currently just collecting when we're making the appointment, even if it's like for later in the afternoon or whatever. They're collecting at the time they're on the phone with them, and it's all credit cards, of course. And we're pediatrics, so it's a younger population. But I know in the beginning we were not doing the copays. We were not collecting the copays. I haven't really heard from my billing department if they're having issues getting payment. I did have one person that got to me and had 2 copays, and she felt like the second one, she actually didn't want the video conference. So I did adjust that one off because it was a misunderstanding, I think, between her and the staff, that she just really needed to talk to the physician, like a follow-up call. And she didn't realize she was going to have a video visit. Anyway.
So we keep, we've kind of tried to get everyone to do touchless payments by having a credit card on file. With us, it's a payment system that we've used for several years. It was always optional, but we're asking all patients to have a credit card on file at this point, so we can just try, because our admin staff has been working remotely for the most part. This is the first week we've had people come in when there's patients in the clinic. So we have their credit cards on file, so that hasn't been an issue yet. I mean, no one's complained yet, but not everything's processed yet.
So you said, Kim, that you're having trouble, or you're not having trouble, but you're bringing people back and you're bringing your staff back. And so you have some remote and some on-site
Correct.
now?
Jess, can you close the top? Yeah, so we're doing, we're having one person come in the morning right now. We decreased our hours a lot, and we have been only seeing patients in the morning in the clinic. We've been doing telehealth in the afternoon. That the telehealth is shrinking at this point. We do plan on keeping it though. There are some people who still don't feel comfortable coming out or just like the convenience of being able to do it via telehealth. So we now have one person coming in the morning, more kind of to just keep it somewhat organized so it's not like a total disaster when we come back in. Because now it's like there's therapists here and like they'll put something in one place and then one will put one in another place. Then our admin were coming in at night after everyone was gone, like early evening after everyone was gone. And then like you're trying to find what you need and you're trying to organize stuff and you can't find stuff. So just to have someone in here to like physically keep stuff in order is why we're bringing them in more so than we're still asking patients to, schedule appointments over the phone. It's still contactless payments, that kind of stuff. We're not in really to deal with patients right now, just to kind of keep the office functioning a little more smoothly. And then we still have one or two people working remotely to take phone calls and stuff during our office hours now as well.
I have heard from some practices that they think some of their remote staff has been functioning better as remote staff and will remain remote. That
I definitely am seeing an increase in productivity in my billers, and I think it's because they have less time to chat with people because there's nobody around. So nobody goes back there to ask them a question about why is this person getting this bill or this copay. So, they're more of like machines. They're just getting that stuff in and out. So we are still considering that for our billers.
Yeah, the last practice manager that commented on it, she sounded quite chagrined about it. She couldn't have ever imagined that it would work that way. She never wanted to support work from home, but now she's surprised that she really likes it, that she has some of the staff working from home because they're working so much better, and is going to support them working a modified work from home schedule, like 2 or 3 days a week, because they seem to work better from home. I guess it seems like that's one kind of unintended byproduct of this whole thing, is that work from home seems like it's going to be much more popular across, and all industries, that a lot of people might stay home for a while. What are your office practices like? Are you having people wait in their car for appointments and you're calling them in? How are you checking people into the office? Are you putting them right into your visit rooms? How are you keeping social distance in the waiting room? Are there any particular challenges you're seeing there? Are you getting all your PPE? Do you have your supplies? How is your office flow working?
So I actually got rid of all of the chairs in my waiting room except 3, because that's one on each wall, and that keeps people pretty socially distant. And then I have somebody sitting out, just a teenage kid that was looking for a summer job, sitting right outside the door, taking temperatures and asking all the respiratory questions. And if they answer yes to any of those respiratory questions, or they have a fever, they get sent back to their car to do a telehealth visit. And if not, then they get left in. He's also kind of manning and making sure that only one person accompanies people to the visit if they absolutely need it. So like if they have ambulatory issues, hearing, speech, that kind of stuff. But if they're completely healthy, we're only letting one person in with them and asking them the other people to go to their car, just because we have like, I don't know how many square feet, but our office isn't huge. It's not the smallest, but it's not huge. So when you add my staff and then patients at any given time, we're hitting close to like the 25 mark. So we're trying to keep as many people out. So that's how we found. So we're trying to really just triage right to the waiting room, or to the exam room, kind of bypassing the waiting room. So at any given time, I think most of the time we have 0 people in our waiting room. A couple times this week, we've had one person sitting there. And then we're spraying the crap out of the chairs with the Lysol. We're like,
How do you handle that, Kathy, having pediatrics?
So we're we're not checking temperatures when they're coming in. We're actually asking them the question when we're setting up, asking them all the questions before we set up the appointment. And then actually any appointments that were made prior to like today and they're making the confirmation calls, they're re-asking the questions to those people and letting them know that if anything changes before their appointment, that they need to call us first. Because of course we have children that come in with fevers for, you know, things that are not COVID related. We have not had to have them wait out in their car. We've pretty much been able to bring them in and get them right back into an exam room. And so I haven't removed any chairs from our waiting room or did anything different in our waiting room. I think for the most part, what the girls are telling me is that they're able to get the patients back into the exam room. And I don't think we've had really that many issues. We are telling the parents, one parent with the child that they're bringing in. Sometimes we have that's difficult, especially with the newborns, and both parents want to come in for that first visit and stuff. But yeah, we seem to be doing okay with that. Staff's been pretty good about that.
Are you doing any special cleaning of the exam rooms afterward?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So Michelle,
Done that, so I don't feel like, you know, we've always wiped down the exam rooms after each patient and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, they're wiping down like any handles and stuff like that more frequently and stuff. But I think for the most part, we've always tried to do that anyway. So
yeah. So much of it, you know, I find thinking about it with restaurants and things, so much of it is, shouldn't we have been doing this stuff all along anyway? You know, that this seems like a good practice anyway. So we should have probably been keeping this stuff clean anyway. So Michelle, how has your business changed? Or what are you seeing among the practices that you work with?
So much of what everyone is saying is what we're hearing from our clients as well. Obviously, we offer a lot of the services that you're talking about, the telehealth. We do release of information. I think that initially we saw a decline in the number of requests that we were getting for medical records because practices weren't seeing patients. But now that everyone's introducing phase 2, you know, they're all coming back into the offices, they're doing televisits. So we're seeing an uptick in the number of requests that we're doing. In terms of the telehealth, it's definitely not going to go away. I see that being around for the long term. Some people absolutely love it, some don't. Some providers love it, some don't. I think it just kind of depends on, you know, the practice that you're in and so forth.
Yeah, I think I've heard some providers that are fearful of coming back to their practices.
Yes.
So it, you know, the telehealth is being driven by them, you know, that the provider is fearful based on their own health or based on their own their family's health situations, that they aren't eager to return, and based on their specialty too. You know, ear, nose, and throat doctors, you know, that have to spend so much close time or that have more risk of aerosolization of things, and they have, you know, they have a greater risk of exposure and things like that. So I've talked too much. Are there any hot button questions that you all would like to talk with each other about?
I'm curious to what positions you guys are having work remotely. Like, is it your administrative staff, your providers?
So go ahead.
We have we had our whole administrative staff working remotely. So for us, that's me. I'm the executive administrator. Our office coordinator, who you've seen go back and forth behind me a couple of times, and then we have 2 part-time front desk staff. And we actually just hired yesterday. I just hired someone, a new front desk person, because we were in the process of hiring and had literally finished the interviews like 2 days before they announced the stay-at-home order for us. We are Bucks County, so we're pretty early on in the game for that. So that kind of stopped the whole process. But we are bringing another full-time person on board, and she would like to do, she's happy to do in office and remote as well.
So right now,
Our clinicians have all, for the most, our assistant clinical director, we've had to cut the number of patients. Well, I mean, a ton of patients just dropped off anyway when this started because they didn't feel safe coming out. We never closed completely. We always stayed open for post-op patients in particular, but there were some other ones that kept coming. But one of the clinicians, he's the assistant clinical director, he's not been treating that much. He just started the past couple of weeks. So he was working on, he worked to set up the telehealth program, get out like the background stuff of that going. And he's just been doing a lot of administrative stuff. But the 2 other clinicians have been in the clinic. Like I said earlier, they're treating patients in the morning in the clinic, and then they were doing telehealth in the afternoon. But we are closing. We used to be open until 9 p.m. And we're closing the only reason we're taking one at 5 o'clock is because he went back to work, and he was a workers' comp post-op, and the only time he can come in is at 5 o'clock. But so they've been in the clinic to do both telehealth and clinic treatment for less hours.
and in my office, I have all of my billers and all of my phone triage schedulers at home. And then my providers are working in the office, but they're also working telehealth remotely for facilities. So we round it like nursing homes and long-term care and personal care places, and they aren't allowed in there yet. So any of the time that it's their day to do the facilities, they're rounding via telehealth for those facilities because they're still on lockdown to visitors and people. And so we've been doing that since March 26th. And so we're going to probably be continuing that. I'm in Butler, or I'm in Allegheny County over on the southwestern side of PA, and they're saying maybe around the middle of July. So we'll see.
So I have nobody working remotely. Sometimes I will work remotely, and I did at one point. My biller, her daughter works in a nursing home, and she tested positive, and she had been with her one day. She didn't have any symptoms or anything, but I made her stay home for 14 days. And she had no symptoms, and then she came back. So she did work remotely then. But otherwise I've had everybody in the office. Yeah.
For the first part, like the beginning of March when Allegheny County went on the first stay-at-home order, we split our office in half. So we had 2 teams. I have 2 physicians and 4 extenders. So I had 1 physician, 2 extenders, 1 front desk person, 1 MA, 1 medical scribe in the office for 2 weeks, and then the other team would work from home for 2 weeks. Those physicians that were working from home for 2 weeks would do all the facility stuff, and all of the MAs and the front desk staff that was working from home would, we have voice over internet phones, so we were able to give them a phone to take home and plug into their internet so they could still answer phones during the day, run refills and different things like that. And then we were on a 2-week rotation. We would switch back every 2 weeks so that we would always have a clean, healthy team in case we got exposed to COVID here. And that worked really well.
That's pretty cool. I have not heard of that. That's really,
Makes sense.
that's really cool.
Yeah, so it just gave us, we kind of stayed ahead of the game, and we did not have any telehealth capabilities before March 19th. So our IT guy worked like super fast, got us turned on March 19th. We started the stay-at-home stuff like March 26th, and we were only down about 10% of encounters compared to other places in our facilities or other facilities in our area that were losing 25 to 50% of their patient load.
That's
I think
great.
the telehealth really saved us. Yeah.
What are you guys all using for telehealth?
I'm using Doxy.
Yep.
Norway.
And then you can also FaceTime. If Doxy disconnects or whatever and they have an iPhone, my docs have transferred it over to a FaceTime call, but that's been very minimal. Doxy's been really great with responding to technical and IT issues.
That's really cool. That's really cool. That's the first time I've heard that idea, that way of managing it, and that's the really cool idea.
Yeah, it worked out really well.
So assuming that there's a true second wave coming, or in anticipation of that, you know, or that that the levels that we're at now double up with a flu outbreak in the fall, is there anything that you've learned now that you would do differently, or that you know, hindsight being 2020, what would you do differently in the fall? Is there something you learned that you would prepare for better, or that you would, you know, you would do differently to better manage a crisis like this?
One thing I would do differently is I would have some kind of setup to get the testing done through like my own facility, because if we're going to include flu, we're going to be losing a lot of revenue in those flu swabs and flu testing. And when I looked at my revenue for the 3-month period, I wasn't down on encounters or patient like people to people visits. I was down in revenue for the ancillary stuff. So I would like to try to find a way to keep being able to do our injections and blood draws and different things, because when we were fully telehealth, we weren't open to do that. So even if that means having to have people masked and shielded 1 or 2 days a week to still run our blood clinics and stuff, I'd like to figure something like that out.
Do you all have a supply now, a stockpile of sorts that you're comfortable with of PPE?
I still can't get gowns. I have enough face shields, I feel like, and N95s and regular face masks, but we can't seem to get those. Even our lab that we have a lab just down the hallway from us, they can't get the white and pink gowns that go over their clothes. And they're a lab that was always ordering that even before COVID. But that seems to be the PPE that's on back order now.
Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
Oh, I wasn't actually saying anything. It was just noise in the background. Well, I will say we had, I've had hand sanitizer on back order. It's 3 months now. And I ordered it from the one supplier that would even let you order it at that point. I did have, because we always kept it around the clinic. And I always had some in stock in the back. So luckily I had enough. We're actually just starting getting low on it now, but the owner had a friend from college who was a pharmacy major who made gallons and gallons based on I guess it's FDA standards. So we did buy several gallons of it from him, but we've been okay. Are we okay on face masks?
Yeah, somebody did bring us a couple.
Okay. We've been okay on face masks, but maybe we need some more. So yeah, but we don't use gowns or anything, or like face shields or anything like that.
Yeah. I think it'll be it'll be interesting to see what happens as schools open and start to put some stress on face masks and things like that. You know, that'll certainly change the supplies and hand sanitizer. Schools are going to make a dent in that too, because that's all going to have to go into the supply chain. They're going to be using a lot of it, I think. I've heard some worries out of practices about schools opening for their staff mainly, because there's still some uncertainty about how schools will open, whether they'll be full-time for everyone or not, and whether that'll affect their staffing levels, because parents won't have that certainty about where their kids will be. So there's some of the practices are worried about what will happen with their staff in September if everyone doesn't go back to school full time. because that's been such a challenge this spring with kids being home.
That has been my biggest challenge is trying to work from home with a 5-year-old and a 2-year, well, now 6-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Yes.
Listen, as a mom of an 8th, he'll be 9th, 7th, and a 6th grader. I am not ready to teach from home again. There's a reason I wasn't a teacher. There was a reason I went into healthcare. I'm not good with it. I don't have the patience. Like, Lord, give me mercy, because it was a rough 3 months at my house.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Me too. I hope they go back.
I know. I told my kids, you don't even have an option, because in Butler County, they're sending out emails to people saying, would you like a hybrid? Would you like to see kids back full time? Would you like all online learning? What do you think? And I'm like, mine don't even get the option. They're going back. If I have to send you with a mask and a gallon of hand sanitizer, you're going back. That will always be my answer.
Yeah. So anything else you guys would want to talk about?
Guys, well, maybe, I mean, you probably don't have a lot of readmissions, but have you heard, Kim, maybe, Erin, maybe you have, with people on the other calls, what are people doing about like readmissions and readmission rates? How are they incorporating telehealth at all with that to try to prevent patients from getting readmitted to the hospital right now? Or have you heard any discussions on how they're going to decrease their readmit rates?
I have not heard a discussion of that.
Okay.
I can post the question though to.
Yeah, I'd just love to hear more about how people are going to try to like incorporate that, because, you know, with the transition of care visits and different things like that, I can see they're going to be, I think there'll be a bigger need for that. You know, when people first get out of the hospital, they're going to feel like crap. They're not going to want to come in, so they'll want to do telehealth. But currently, you can't bill a TOC under telehealth. But, you know, just kind of keeping them from getting readmitted is the biggest deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Are you on any of the PA MGMA social media account?
I'm on the Instagram, but I don't see a lot of that.
There's not like a ton. Yeah. So there's or if you're on, are you on Facebook? There's a Facebook, like a private.
Yeah, I have it liked. Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry.
There's also a group, and I can make sure that our social media coordinator, like gives you an invitation to the group. It's like
Oh, yeah.
like a I don't know how it works with Facebook, but there's like a special group, and you can post a question to the group and people will like chat with you in the group.
Yeah.
And that might be a good place to ask the question, because I have not heard that
Yeah, that'd be great.
specifically there. So I'll make sure you get added to the group.
Aaron, is that just for providers, or do
Any
you
member.
allow?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love that.
Me too.
Okay.
Kathy, I would like it too.
Okay. I'll make sure.
I get
Aaron.
the email links, but
Yeah. One other question, Aaron. What does PAMGMA, do they have plans, or have you heard of the plans? Like, I was registered for the Philadelphia thing. Have they made a decision on what they're going to do? Are they going to like reimburse us and skip it this year? They're going to have it later in the year? Because I've already signed up for the national conference, and I'm sure they're not going to have it at the same time, but just kind of planning life.
We're going to do a big announcement, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, like
Okay.
when we have the dates firm, but we're going to do a fully virtual conference sometime in late October. So it'll be after national, and it'll be completely online. And the pricing will be different. So you'll probably get like a refund of some amount if you decide that you'd still like to join us, which we hope you will. But it'll be a fully virtual conference. So you'll get like an app, and you can log into the app and still do your networking, and we'll have some fun activities like virtual happy hours and stuff, but we'll have all of our same programming, keynote sessions that you can log on live, or you can download the sessions later if it's not a good time for you, that sort of a thing. So you'll still be able to get all the same content, but you can do it from your laptop at home, or you can even do it from a mobile app.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome. Great. Yeah, because you know that like October is just when it's going to start getting bad again.
Exactly. And we don't want to bring everybody together. We don't want to use all the PPE. We don't want to have crappy boxed lunches in a hotel conference center. None of that stuff that we'll have to do right now. So
Right.
like we still want there's still so much content that people need and want right now. So that's our plan, is to do a virtual conference this fall, and then heaven willing, we'll be able to have a regular conference in April again.
Awesome, great. That's perfect. Thanks, Ken. I appreciate that. I know that's a lot of hard work. Thank you all for doing that.
It's a whole new world, as they say.
It is. It is.
Well, I appreciate so much your conversation, and it's so nice to see real live faces, even if virtually. Is there anything else you all would like to talk about? No?
Nope, that was all my stuff. Thank you.
Nope, this was great. It's nice hearing from other practices, what they're experiencing, and it just helps me to craft my sales efforts, and because we do have a lot of revenue generating services. So I'd love to send you all my contact information if there's anything that we can help you with.
I will. So we do record this meeting, and so we will email you the recording so you can like listen to it again if you wanted to. And we will email this list of the participants and their email addresses, if that's okay with everybody. So if you wanted to email one another, you could chat with one another if you like, offline, off this line, I suppose. And I hope that you will join us again for another program, virtually or otherwise. And I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thanks
Great.
so much,
Thanks,
Erin.
Erin. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It was nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you all.
Yes, bye.